Indian.
Okay. Okay. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. We'll start.
Yes.
Okay.
Just couple of minutes. We'll
Sure.
start a program. Rakesh? Rakesh, your voice is not clear.
Yeah, I started.
No, he's on.
I started.
Fine. Let us start today's program. Welcome all. Happy evening, everyone. The exciting Iris Beyond Chalk and Talk series is back with the most awaited and need of the hour topic, online classes Sazaya Maza. Hi, this is Radhika Turlapati, Academic Director of Iris Group of Schools. Well, due to this COVID-19 pandemic, schools are closed and most likely they are not going to reopen in the near future. So the only option left with us is online classes. For higher grade children, parents are okay with it. But when it comes to the preschoolers, parents are not ready.
Hello, Priyanka. Hello, Suzanne. I think, Rakesh, you need to log in, ma'am, again. Yes, there you are.
Yes, some technical, right? Okay. Well,
Hi, ma'am.
our first hi, Priyanka, welcome. Hi.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. So our first expert panelist is Dr. Swati Popat Woods. She is the president of Early Childhood Association and Association for Primary Education and Research, a child-centric NGO purely working for the development of the children. She comes with more than 30 years of experience in education domain. She authored many books. Under her leadership, ECA has released many manuals and guidelines for the benefit of the children. The recent guidelines on blended remote learning are recognized by Brazil schools, translated them into their local language and started using it. Swati ma'am has done more than 78 webinars in 70 days, clarifying all the doubts of parents, teachers, and stakeholders. Kudos to you, Swati ma'am. Well, Swati ma'am will be joining us a little late. She's drafting some response to the Maharashtra government on online classes, which she has to give it to the government on or before 4 o'clock. So as soon as she's done, she will join us. Now our second panelist is Mrs. Sonal Ravi Andrews, a counseling psychologist, founder director of Integrated Preschools Teacher Training Academy, and co-founder of My Playdate. She's a pathologist, powerful orator, storyteller, international speaker, poet, theater artist, and certified professional in communication skills from Trinity College of London. Welcome, Sonal ma'am. It's my pleasure to have you on your board. Now, we have Iris Laureate's parents joining us from India, Nepal, Uganda. Welcome, Ms. Priyanka, Suzanne, Amna, and Mr. Arun. You can ask a question during the session. Well, we got many questions from Iris Flores parents pan India. So we summarized all those questions and wanted to go ahead with the panel discussion, right? So, well, Sonal, the question is for you,
Thank
right?
you.
Most lingering questions in parents' mind in today's scenario. Online classes for preschoolers. Saza ya maza? What's your opinion?
Platform where we all stakeholders are in one platform, and it's really my pleasure to be with all of you, and let's help the education field and especially early childhood education to get some perception from all of us together, right? uh, for me, it's really simple. My little human being is ready to explore, experiment everything. Now, we were just talking to Suzanne, and she said she shifted from India to Nepal. And I'm sure the little child had the least of the problem in shifting. He got adjusted like this, unlike us adults. Children enjoy in any scenario given the approach is correct. I believe that children love learning because they are human too. And humans have a nature of evolving. When a little child is born, they are on the face, on their back, and they look face up. We as parents or adults, we don't have to tell them, beta, turn on your stomach. Come on, start sitting, start crawling. They just do it. That's human nature to evolve. So if as a teacher, as a parent, I want to teach something, but if my approach is beautiful, approach is very fun loving, approach is easy on the child, it will never be saza, because child has unlimited potential to grow, absorb, and evolve. So it is just us adult who are having all these ideas about whether child will like or no. But if you give it in a beautiful manner, in a right approach, which is child appropriate, psychology appropriate, child is going to have fun in any scenario. They just love having fun. That's what childhood is all about. So I leave it to us adults to decide how are we going to approach child with this scenario and our new education approach.
Well, Sonal, agreed. Because when we leave the child to the natural and we as adults, we know we need to look into it what the child has to learn, right? We understand much.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Now we have a parent like Miss Susan from Nepal. She has got a question for you, Sonal, right?
Yeah, please.
Susan, it's over to you. You can ask a question. Susan? Susan, are you there? Okay, we'll wait for some time. We'll get back. So we have another question for you, Sonal ma'am.
Sure.
How do we make these remote classes impactful so that the children do not miss their learning?
Absolutely right. Thank you so much. Now, these are the new terminology in our world, okay? So far, we were hearing approaches, Montessori approach, Waldorf approach, integrated approach, playway approach, or nursery approach, kindergarten approach. Now there's a new approach, totally, completely, which is online, virtual, remote learning. These are all the synonyms going here and there. The meaning is very simple, that this golden period of human life, that is from 0 to 7 years, has to be addressed properly. What we want to do in remote learning is very simple, where student and the educator, even though they are not physically present in one surrounding, in a traditional classroom environment, information is relayed through technology, discussion boards, video conferencing, online assessment, or a parent have been trained to relay it to the child. Now, how beautiful is that? This is exactly the sync that we needed all along. What is the difference between online and remote is very simple. Online is completely either, synchronous, where teacher is continuously giving and the child has to be available at that time. Whereas asynchronous will be something that child can do at his own pace with parents' assistance. So we need to find a balance between what we want to achieve. Now, before we get into the impact, let me take you a little back and give you a psychological perspective about this particular stage called early childhood. Now, this is a phase which starts from conception. The child is in the womb and organs are absolutely, soft, jelly-like. And it takes 7 years after being born that you actually have your milk teeth replaced by permanent teeth. And this phase of 7 years is solidifying, is the process where everything that is not very sure gets solidified, habit gets formed, personality, seeds get sown. And there are 3 major milestones that we have. The first one is walking, means uprightness in the body. Now, this is not only physical that I'm talking about, I'm also talking about from the spiritual or educational point of view. That till yesterday, somebody had to feed me, and now I am on my own. So, independence in that manner. Talking, social awareness. Where do I talk what? Whom do I address how? Now, this understanding nobody teaches you. You just absorb from the environment that is being created for you. And third is thinking. The child begins to think. He's very primitive when he's born. Okay, child needs something, he'll snatch from your hand. Simple. He will not think how will you feel. At age of 9 months or 1 year, child likes something, he'll just take it from your hand without even thinking. But the same child by age of 4 or 5 will start looking at you and look for your permission for that particular thing. So these 3 are the major milestones that we need to achieve in this 7 years. And that is how objective of early childhood has been constructed. That is readiness, that is reading readiness, writing readiness, counting readiness, speaking readiness. Also the multisensorial stimulation that we need to give child, which will stimulate the brain, connect the neurons and create a beautiful network and evolve his stimulation towards being cognitive. We have life skills that we need to teach child. Simple things like tying shoelace, wearing clothes, pouring water, basic stuff, taking care of your own self. And we need to teach as a teacher. Now I'm talking from the teacher and the parent, both point of view. Okay, so these are the must-do list for us. 5 C's of 21st century. We know of 4 C's. That is creativity, communication skill, critical thinking, and collaborations. I am adding 5th one, that is character building. And that's really important in early childhood education, because this is the time when schemas, the perception, are very strongly ingrained in child's brain. Self-esteem and confidence. And finally, spice development. Now here, spice doesn't mean, your spice which we use in cooking. Spice stands for social development, physical development, intellectual development, communicational development, and emotional. SPICE. In my early childhood education, I make sure the child is well groomed in all these areas. Now, till yesterday in the classroom, I could do a lot of activity where all children of same age were there. Now in remote learning, how am I going to do it? So that's the question that Radhika ma'am had addressed, and it's a really important question to ponder upon, that how are we going to achieve this in the medium where I'm not feeling connected with the child? Well, I'm not able to hug the child, I'm not able to touch the child. And for that, in this foundation years, I need to lay bricks very, very well. Now, these bricks have to be made, molded, baked by the parent and the child. Now, these bricks for me are the brief doses. Give 5 to 7 minutes videos to child to watch, not more than that at a time about a concept. These videos should not have too much of movements and too many colors which will harm their sensories in the brain. 15 to 20 minutes concept at a time. So if you have 1 hour class, 20 minutes of break. That is ideal for the brain, and give lots of brain breaks, some energizers, some pacifiers every 20 minutes. The impact of the concept will be beautiful in that case. R is routine that I want you to create with the child, being a parent and being a teacher. Every day, even though there is lockdown, we wake up on same time, eat at same time, sleep at same time, study at same time, have fun at same time as a family. It's really important to create this routine. I stands for being interactive and innovative. Right now I'm talking and I'm loving when Priyanka ma'am is nodding. I'm feeling, okay, somebody's listening to me, and Radhika ma'am smiling. So yes, there is connection. We have been taking this virtual class, and I'm seeing that teachers are so connected with children, even in the virtual class where child comes and says, Mama, when will my teacher come on this thing? And this is what I want as a connection. Are you making your class interactive? Are you being innovative about it? Are you coming up with new ideas to create these things? Clarity of the concept as a teacher that you need to have. You need to be creative, at the same time be clear. your concept, don't muddle it with lot of extra information. Keep it crisp, keep it there, known to unknown. Take child from what he knows to what he doesn't know, and that will be easy path to travel, and go in a small baby steps. And finally, keep it simple, crisp, and lot of fun. And I'm sure that it will be a real maza for the child as well as teacher, because end of the day, what teacher wants is engagement with the child, which is fruitful and satisfying. So if we do this effectively and keep our lesson plans in a place where we are taking all the 4 stages of social learning theory, that is pay attention, grab their attention, give them opportunity to retain things, that is called retention, recapitulation or reproduction, and finally we have motivation. Child learns something, he says, Mama, I learned this today, tomorrow I don't know what my teacher is going to teach. He's motivated to come to the class tomorrow. Thanks to Albert Bandura for teaching us this social learning theory. If our lesson plan follows these 4 steps, I'm sure that we will be having a lot of impact. And finally, to grasp the attention, which is the most difficult thing. In my classroom also, children run around. So a lot of parents say, ma'am, I'm offing the video because they are running. It's okay, I'm okay if child is running around, that's fine. And it's home, so it's safe, no problem. But my voice will go on. I'll sing for the child, I'll tell the story, and child is listening. So I'm happy about it. I'm going to grasp their attention with introducing every concept using either game, I can have activities, rhymes, I can do stories and puppetry. So GRASP stands for G for games, R for rhymes and songs, A for activity, S for stories, and P for puppetry. Any concept given in pre-primary education, if I begin with one of these 5 tools, I'm sure to grasp child's attention. So to make them impactful, lay the bricks well, grasp the attention, make sure your lesson plan has all these 4 stages, and I think we'll achieve a lot more than we are, assuming that we might not achieve. Welcome, Swati ma'am. Glad to see you.
Welcome, Swati ma'am.
How are you? Thank you so much for having me here, and honored to share the platform with Sonal.
We are all fine, ma'am. Thank you so much. Well, Sonal, very well explained, like major, walking, talking, social skills, thinking, the 5 C's, the spices, very well explained. I think the viewers, the parents, those who are listening, definitely they're enjoying, and they'll come to know what exactly it is, right? Welcome, Swati ma'am, once again. Well, a question for you, Swati ma'am. Like, as you know, the topic is Saza ya Maza, right? So the most lingering question, it's again, like online classes for the preschoolers, Saza ya Maza. What is your opinion on it?
So it is both. It is Saza and it is Maza. If it is done correctly, it is Maza. If it is done incorrectly, it is a Saza. And that's why the ECA guidelines also says that we should stop referring to it as online classes, because the thought of an online class for preschoolers is frightening to parents, and it's frightening to governments. As you can see right now, Karnataka, Maharashtra banning these online because of this, because of a mistake that a lot of preschools have made by making children sit in front of the screen for hours together. But ECA came out with guidelines that for 60 minutes, maximum for 60 minutes, if children are having a video interaction with their teachers, as Sonal said, about stories, about rhymes, about activities, that is absolutely a maza. But when you are going to start teaching new concepts on a new platform, then you are not going known to unknown. So it is very, very important that it is in our hands to make it a maza or to make it a saza.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. Well, ma'am, one more question for you, Swati ma'am. Some countries like England, France, South Korea, China have reopened preschools. When can we expect reopening of preschools in India? What are the safety measures to be taken?
So I am very happy with our country and our government, because we have kept the under 10s the last to be brought out into society. because the under 10s are asymptomatic, which means many of them may not show symptoms, but may have the virus. So it is very, very important that we keep our next generation safe. I don't think it will open before August. I think NCRT has said sometime in August. It again depends on what kind of a state you are. Like, for example, Delhi and Maharashtra are in a very bad state right now. I don't think they'll be able to open if they are not able to control COVID. They are doing their best, but COVID has gone completely out of control. Also very important to understand for parents especially, that there is not going to be a single time in this year when schools will start and remain open. Because if you study all these countries also, they have opened, then there has been a spike in cases and they have had to close down. And that's why what I recommend is a CBC, click, brick, click. You will have to have online, which is virtual or remote engagements with children. Then physical school will open, which is brick. So you will have to start going to school. But even in that going to school, you won't be able to accommodate all the children together. So you may have some children coming in on alternate days. In that case, also your virtual engagements, remote engagements are going to help the children. So click, brick, click. I think schools and parents need to cultivate a mindset where the CBC is concerned.
Okay, thank you so much, Swati ma'am. Sonal ma'am, a question for you. How should be our approach towards parent as educators? Sonal ma'am, I think you need to unmute.
It's muted again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. So parenting as such is I look at parenting and teaching as something very parallel, because these are the only two areas where there is no manual. Okay, if I'm from medical field, I have a manual that you do this, these are the symptoms, do this diagnostic test, and this is the query, and this is the medicine. If you're an engineer, you have, this is a troubleshoot for the machine. But for teachers and for parents, there is no guideline, because every child, every teacher, every parent is different. Every human is different. So there is no perfect guideline for it. So if you want to say how to be a perfect parent, how to do parenting, I think it's a very difficult question and a very personal thing, that how are you going to go about it? For me, it's very, very simple. I have made it very simple. A lot of people ask me, how do you handle your child? I said the best way to handle the child is not to handle the child. Just handle your behavior and who you are. That's the best way. And this is what I would like to tell every parent as well. I've just learned it just a couple of days back from one of my guru, Manivannan sir, and I'm going to just tell this to you all. Plant a seed of peace, water it with love, scare away the birds of prey, and harvest flowers of joy, and harvest flowers of joy. It's really important that our focus is not vicarious, that I didn't do this in my lifetime, my child has to do it. It's really important to allow child to imitate us than we giving instructions all the time. Right now, what I see most of the time is we parents and teachers have become very instructional, then building ourselves as somebody who can be imitated by the parent, by the child. So there are some to-do things that we can do to be a parallel stakeholder in this scenario and help out teachers to reach out to child and these learning years. What we need to do as a parent is to be a good listener. Listen to the child at times. Don't say anything, just simply listen. They have a lot to tell, and you will understand what they're thinking, how they're thinking, and you'll be able to channelize their energy, channelize their thinking pattern with your own spontaneity. Observe them carefully. Their daily needs and desirable has to be, I mean, that goes without saying. Today's parents are like overwhelming in giving them before they even ask us, right? And obviously enjoy with them. What not to do with them is negligence, over enthusiasm, over pampering, torture with any kind of rigidity or dominance, being temperamental, demand too much of obedience. Let them be not a robot but a human, and have a democratic way of bargaining or having a communication where, okay, you do this, this is the limit, and in that freedom is given. Train them to be independent. That's one thing that I'm missing. And finally, don't be obsessed with parenting. Be casual parents. Apply benign negligence at times, which is not harmful. It'll be really useful for the child to make his own decision, make little mistake, learn from his mistake, and become self-initiated. I think instead of using Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, now is the time that we need to use Sam, calm, clear, and hear. Instead of telling don't do, tell what to do. Hear to them. Clearly tell them what you're expecting. Sit back, let them make some mistakes, let them do something which you don't expect them to do. And use your Sam and Dam in a very smart manner, very easy manner that doesn't make a relationship stressful between you and your child. So I think as a parent, every parent wants the best for the child. There's no doubt. They are the providers. Play a lot with child. P for play, and that's the first word that I want every parent to do. And play as a sibling, as a friend. At the same time, watch how they're playing, observe them, listen to them, what they're saying. Don't be very giving parent. Be a parent who wants to raise a child with a meaningful, purposeful, and make them humans. I think that is what I would want to add here.
Yes, very, very well explained. As you said, we as the parents definitely need to listen to the child first, right? Rather, we instructing them to do this, do that, and then telling them. Well, very well explained. Swati ma'am, if both the parents are working, how a 3 or 4-year-old child attend online live classes, and how to accommodate if the siblings have the classes at the same time?
Well, this is a common problem that parents have had to adjust to in this new normal. Previously, even if both the children were going to the same school, they know that they can just drop them off and they'll go to their different classes. Now the classroom is the home, and the way the teacher can reach out to them is through a screen. And many of them don't have so many screens at home. So it becomes very important for these parents to discuss, because most of these two children are usually in the same school. So it is very important to discuss it out with the school if they can have separate timings for both these children, so that the screen sharing, if they have only one screen, both the children can sit on that screen at a different time. Number two, working parents are going to find it the most difficult now, especially since every state has started opening, when both of them start going to work. That's why we are trying to push that the daycares should start opening before the preschools, because parents will need a place to keep these children safely, so that they can come back into the workforce and contribute to the economy of the country. So it is very, very important to understand that you will have to depend on some family or friend support if you are both going out right now to work and your child is at home. In many cases, we've seen grandparents are helping them out by being at home. Grandparents have learned a lot of technology now. They know how to switch on that Zoom and give it to the child. Grandparents are enjoying the session. I've seen photographs in which the child is dancing away, but the grandparent is listening to the story that the teacher is telling. So you will need this kind of support. As they say, it takes a village to raise a child. So it's time for the village now to stand up and take responsibility, because parents alone can't take up all the responsibility.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, truly agreed. Sonal ma'am, a question for you. Our teachers are well trained in taking physical classes, right? But now it is going to be a virtual. So what are the different skills where the teachers need to be upgraded? And if upgraded, how?
Absolutely. That's so well said. Till yesterday, we were talking so much about being tactile, creating an environment. Rather, I used to define teacher is somebody who is a spiritual adult, creating an environment where learning happens. Now, in this scenario, I don't have my classroom, but so what? I can reach out to the child thanks to technology to their home. And I can create an environment around me with my passion and reach out to this child. And that's something credible. As a teacher, what I'll need to do for this is constantly upgrade what I have been teaching from last few years. I'm expert at that. I can just close eyes and teach that again. But right now that content will not be meaningful, because now I'll need to modify the content, create a new content which is applicable in this scenario when I have limited resource as a teacher. Child doesn't have the needed resources. I can't be asking parent all the time to print, to bring this material, bring that material. I'll have to look around my house to create these resources. I want to teach a concept of big and small. I'll tell parent, keep 5 big spoons, keep small 5 spoons with child. Child doesn't know why. Middle of the class, I'll say, do you have spoons around you? And let's take out spoons and start comparing them. So I'll have to be innovative about creating this content all over again. I'll have to reflect what I'm doing. Is it working? Am I able to reach out the child in this in this manner? And finally review again and rewrite again. So see our create your curriculum again, reflect on it. Essential need of the child, what we spoke about, the objectives that we need to tick on, are we taking care of that? Is it age appropriately done? Is it engaging the brain, or is it too simple, or is it too I have done it, I don't want to do it again, kind of a thing. So we'll need to be very, very sure that comprehension and understanding is happening according to the age of the child. Deeper learning, one concept, but teach it, recapitulate it a number of times so that child starts exploring about it and comes to you with more information. Finally, we come to interactive method that we have available. Use different method, use parents. There are so many schools who are training parents. They're taking virtual classes for parents and teaching them how to do storytelling, how to do demo of the material. And that's awesome. So come up with more interactive, methods. Blended learning is another word that we need to really have. We need to have digital knowledge as a teacher. There are such amazing apps which are freely given. One of them is autodraw.com. You are not good, artist as a teacher, pre-primary teacher. You're not good artist, but so what? You draw, and autodraw will create a clip art for you. Now, this is the knowledge that every teacher should have to make her life simpler. So upgrade yourself, develop a lateral thinking. Think on behalf of the parent, management, your peers, children, and your own family member. Unless you have, agreement with all of this, your classes, your satisfaction will not come. So you will need to learn the skill of lateral thinking. And finally, enjoy whatever you're doing. Give your 100% and do it simply because you want to do it, not because somebody is telling you. There's a whole difference in that, and child can figure out that difference. Children are very, very clever. I believe that they are most honest and pure, so they sense whether you mean it or you don't mean it. So you can't manipulate them. So enjoy whatever you're teaching them, and that makes you credible. Create curriculum, see, reflect on it, essential things that you want to do with age, B, deeper learning, I, interactive method, B, blended learning, lateral thinking, L, and finally, enjoy what you're doing. If we all are in this together, this effort will be incredible for teacher, and she'll upgrade herself.
Very well explained. And this example of fork and spoon, teaching of greater than or less than or more or less. It's really wonderful, because children will be waiting those type of interactive classes, though it's a virtual. So they'll be waiting for the next day. Let my teacher come. What is she going to give a surprise for us? So definitely what you said is agreed, right? Well, Swati ma'am, like most of the parents are thinking that preschool is all about teaching ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. And hence they want to teach their children at home instead of opting remote classes. So how do we do it?
So let's understand what is happening right now at home. Parents are busy with work from home, and they're busy with work at home, which means they have their daily cooking, cleaning, and all to look after, because right now they have no servants, no help, and they are working, their office work is also happening from home. In all this, do you think they have time to have an interaction with the child and keep in mind the vocabulary development of the child, or to keep in mind whether the questions that they phrased were going to develop the child's thinking skills, or that they are taking care of the emotional development of the child? Because preschool is not about ABC and 1, 2, 3. Anybody can teach you that. Anybody can learn that. I can even teach a parrot today to say the A to Z. So does that mean that the parrot is educated? No. It means preschool sets the foundation for your life, which means when we say that 98% of the brain develops in the first 5 years. What is this development we are talking about? It means the way I show my emotions, the way I understand my emotions, the way I react to people, the way I react to situations is all part of my learning in the early years. It will become my personality. So how I am dealt with in the early years, how I am taught, how the brain is taught how to learn instead of just what to learn, all this is what the preschool teacher is thinking about. It looks like a very simple curriculum of 1 to 3 and ABC and rhymes and songs and puppetry. But that is not what the child is actually benefiting from. When we talk about play, it is very important to understand that play leads to brain development. Play teaches us impulse control. Play teaches us self-regulation. Play teaches us counting. Play teaches us size, shape. Play teaches us that everything has a depth. Play teaches us to take decisions. Play teaches us that our decisions can have reactions. So it is very, very important to understand that a teacher knows how to plan all this in a nice way that is interesting for the child, and also that she's looking at all the 5 developments. Which are the 5 developments? Physical development, language, cognitive, social and emotional. Now imagine I am a parent. I will say, मैं तो रोज story सुनाता हूँ बच्चे को. Every day I am saying a story. I am doing everything. But you are only focused on the story format. What about the other things that the children also need to learn about? Because first 5 years are the foundation for all your future learning, which means if your children don't understand learning now, they will not become good in primary or secondary. There is one quotation which I have put in front of my office. It says, if you can read this, thank your kindergarten teacher, because it is she who teaches you the sounds, she who teaches you the blends, she who teaches you that these words mean something. So it is very, very important for parents to understand that preschools are not just about fun and games. It is just that preschools have understood that learning happens best through fun and games. And that's why it is the only section in the entire education system which has fun and games. I wish the primary and the secondary also would adopt this. That is what Gijubai Badeka wanted. Gijubai Badeka is this country's premier educationist. Not many teachers or parents know about him. He taught through play. He taught through stories. Sorry. So when we talk about early years, we need to understand that it's not just 1, 2, 3 and ABC. So much of learning happening. Parents won't be able to give that time, and parents don't have that scientific knowledge to help children of that age learn.
Yes, ma'am. As you said, parents may teach ABC 1, 2, 3, but the scientific knowledge definitely it becomes difficult for them to teach. Well, Sonal ma'am, like all the teachers are getting trained for online classes. As it is new for most of them, I think I asked you this question, how to, any skills or techniques for parents?
Okay, for parents, that's going to be really interesting. That also, I think we spoke about that parents need to make sure that their behavior, their, how they are, child can imitate. So I think we have answered that question already, Radhika, about.
Can I say something here?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, ma'am.
Very important that both teachers and parents right now, when they are trying to teach on a virtual platform or a remote platform, are focusing more on mute and unmute. I've seen a lot of teachers keep on saying this to the children, mute your mics, mute your mics. And that is quite irritating for the parents, that my child for the first time is sitting in front of a screen. What do I focus on? Make him sit, make the mute mic. What do I do? I tell teachers that even in the classroom, did you put their mouths on mute? You did not. They all spoke together. It's the same thing now on the virtual platform. They will all speak together, and that's good, because the whole point of having these serve and return interactions is what the brain requires. See, please understand, I can put my child in front of a video and my child will watch the video, but a video is one way. Why we are insisting on these video interactions between the teacher and the child is the brain development. Harvard University says brain development thrives on serve and return interactions, which means I say something, you respond. You say something, I respond. So what the whole point of putting children on a unmute, I mean, mute karo sabko. Kya, yeah, I can't understand this whole nonsense about mute. Because children have a right to take part in the lesson. Children have a right to make a noise during the lesson. And children have a right to move around if they are going to learn. I want parents to understand that there are three kinds of learners: looker, listener, and mover. The looker will sit in front of this video and keep on looking at you because their learning style is a looker. A listener will not sit in front of the screen. The listener will move around, but the listener is still listening to you. So very important voice modulation. And the mover is only going to be interested if you are going to give active activities during the session. अगर आप बैठे ही रहेंगे और ऐसे ही बोलते रहेंगे नहीं होगा. Teacher will have to stand up. Teacher will have to say, let's take an object now. Let's turn and down. Let's see how many of it can do it fast. Teacher will have to do all that. Teacher will have to say, okay, let's see who can touch their shoulder. Is this shoulder? Oh my God. Who can touch their shoulder? Where's the shoulder? She has to be funny. She has to make mistakes. So all the teachers, all the children pipe in and say, no, that's not your shoulder, that's your head. So that is interaction. That is what children will love to be part of. And that is what parents will also enjoy, because parents will be working on their laptops, watching their child. And when they see their child happy, enjoying, giggling, it will bring a smile on the parent's face also. And then the parent won't think that this is the devil. Online is a devil. It will become a maza and not a saza.
So I will just add something, ma'am. We had some class in last week, and Prep 2 teacher was teaching about family members, and she said, "Do you have grandma in the house? Would you want to bring her or her photo?" And children went here, there, dragged this, that, and the teacher herself took dupatta, put some powder here, and become a grandma. So the children were. It was unmute. Our classes are unmuted, and the children said, "Ma'am, that is you, not your granny." And she bursted out laughing. After that, they started talking about who does what job in the house with chores. And then one of the child said, "You are asking us, but tell me what work you do at home. You are always here, no, with me in the class." And the teacher was having fun. And this is what we mean by interaction. So yes, parents are going to at times be, looking out, are the pronunciations all right? Is teacher saying the correct thing? So there are inhibitions in the teacher. There are some things, but you know what? End of the day, if you're reaching out to the child and there's a connection being made, I'm sure the parents are really happy, as ma'am said. So we as teachers have to just make sure that what we are doing, do it earnestly, and parents will love it, because end of the day, it's our child.
Absolutely. Well, Swati ma'am, preschool children definitely need parental assistance for the remote learning, right? Parents are thinking that they are spending more time on their children education than the teachers, as the teacher is taking classes for 40 to 60 minutes only. Hence, parents are expecting some discount on the fees.
So I would like to take the side of both the schools and the parents. The parents need to understand that right now schools may not be using all the facilities. Electricity is not being used, fuel is not being used, and you may feel कि पैसा बचा रहा है school. But let's understand the other scenario. When the schools do open, do you know the amount of investment these schools will have to do in the safety, the post-COVID safety? The amount of sanitizers, the amount of gloves, the amount of masks, the amount of sanitizing each place. It's going to cost them money. Whatever they have saved now, it's all going to be spent later. So I would prefer if parents and schools don't go at loggerheads over an issue called fees. Let's not reduce a child's education to just the monetary aspect. I would urge schools, if there are parents who have issues, many parents have lost their jobs, many parents' salaries have been reduced. On case-to-case basis, please be supportive to these parents and consider their cases. But I would also appeal to the parents that why do you all have to go in a group of 50 to approach the school to reduce the fee for all 50? All 50 are not going through problems. So it is very, very important to understand your child is the common factor between the school and you. Your child should not get an understanding that my school and my parent are always fighting. Why should I go to that school? What is that school going to be able to teach me? Let us not reduce it to that. Both of us are having problems right now. Both of us should be using what we are trying to teach children. Aren't we trying to teach them conflict resolution? कि झगड़ने का नहीं, साथ साथ खेलने का. And look at the child is looking at two of the most important adults in its life fighting over what? Fees. So it is very, very important. Let's not reduce everything to fees. Let's be empathetic towards each other. Schools need to be empathetic towards parents, and parents need to be empathetic towards schools. I would also like to say to all parents, I earnestly request all the parents to remember that you chose a private school because you are assured of the quality in that private school. You were ready to pay more. Government schools are free, or the fee is absolutely null, but you chose to put your child in a private school. Now is not the time to go into a fight with that school. Now is the time to show the world that parents and schools care for the child. Parents and schools care for the teacher. So this is what we have come together, and this is the solution that we found that is suitable for parents, suitable for teachers, and suitable for children. It is very, very important that this is the time at which the two will have to work in unity and not work at loggerheads.
Yes, ma'am, that is definitely. We have Ms. Priyanka, a parent from India. She has got a question. Priyanka, you can just unmute and ask your question.
Yeah. No, hello, everyone. My name is Priyanka.
Hello,
We are
Priyanka.
able to hear you.
Hello. Hi. Hi, ma'am.
Tell me,
My question is, many research have validated that age 2 to 6 of a kid is the most important phase of learning. So due to this COVID scenario, I mean, isn't it exceptional to offer an available resource of learning that is online education?
So it is very important that you made a very important point. If you see, there is a report that comes out by the Indian government. It is called the ASER report, okay? Annual Status of Education report. That's what it's called. That it gives you the report of how children are learning in this country. And if you read the ASER report, it always says that children of 5th standard are not even able to reach the textbook of a 2nd standard child, or as children of 7th standard are not able to reach standard 1 and do maths for standard 1. Why is this happening? This is happening because the early years have been ignored in our country for a very long time. We think early years is just for play, it's just for fun. But the learning foundation in young brains is laid from the age of 3 to 6 years. And that is why now, under the new education policy, 3 to 6 years is now coming in the HRD department, which means under the education department, because they've realized that if you don't do good work with the 3 to 6 year olds, your child's foundation for life is going to be suffered. Because if I don't teach children how to count with a value, then my children later on will not be able to learn algebra and geometry, because their foundation will remain weak. But many parents feel that number is all about reciting numbers. My child knows up to 100. You know, many parents say that. But when you ask this parent, tell your child to count and give me 32 crayons, the child is not able to count. So it is very, very important for parents to understand 3 to 6 years cannot be ignored. And that is why we are appealing to parents, appealing to governments, that please don't stop the learning connections that are happening right now for these early years children. And I urge parents also to support this, because your child sitting at home is not going to be able to get brain stimulation, which a teacher would be able to give the child. Because the teacher knows the flow of how to teach something. The teacher knows the science of how to teach something. So it is very, very important that this age group cannot be ignored. And WHO says 1 hour of video chatting is not bad for children above the age of 2 years. And that's what Early Childhood Association has also recommended, that do 60 minutes of video chat. Go on a Zoom platform, go on Google, get all the children on the platform. Teacher is there, teacher is having fun. They are all talking, they are all interacting. Teacher is saying, wash your hands, eat your food. So all the discipline problems also that the parents are right now facing, if they tell the teacher and the teacher tells the students will listen more to the teacher than they are right now
Exactly.
listening to the parents. So it is very, very important that this should not stop.
No. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the useful information.
We have one more parent from Nepal, Miss Susan. Susan, over to you. You can ask your question. Please unmute.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, Suzanne.
Ma'am, my question is regarding the online classes. Yes, ma'am. Already the children are playing online games and they are very addicted to it. So, how it will affect the children? The online
Wonderful
class.
question.
How can
Wonderful
we
question, Susan.
How can we manage that as a parents?
So there are two things that parents must keep in mind about screen time. There is something called negative screen time and positive screen time. So when you video chat with somebody where you are also able to talk, where you are also able to share your emotions, that is called positive screen time. When the child is playing video games, when the child is watching YouTube video rhymes, that is negative screen time, because in that the child is not able to participate. But if I'm watching a video on yoga and I'm doing yoga along with it, or I'm watching cooking and I'm cooking along with it, that is positive screen time. So it is very important for parents to understand that make a timetable or make a list of all the screen time that your child is exposed to throughout the day. And then next to it, write whether it is positive or it is negative. Now, if you feel that the negative screen time is more and the positive screen time is less, then you have to bring changes in the kind of viewing that your child is going to do. But to understand the negative impacts of screen time, you can do three things. Number one, don't allow child to ever eat in front of a screen, because eating is a very sensory experience and eating leads to your immunity. When children eat in front of the screen, they are not focusing on the chewing, they are not focusing on the proper swallowing, and they end up eating more than what their hunger is. So don't allow children to ever eat in front of any screen. Number two, don't let children play with the screen 1 hour before sleep time, because in the sleep time, your growth hormones are active. And if you are on a screen, it damages the growth hormones. So 1 hour before sleep time, do not give screens to children, and watch out for addiction. If your child is going to be watching something over and over again, and when you try to take it away from the child and the child becomes cranky, frustrated, starts hitting out, it means the child is addicted, which means now you will have to work on unaddicting this child from that particular program or from that particular video game. So what the schools are doing is called positive screen time. What many of these apps are doing, many of these video games are doing, is called negative screen time. And the American Academy of Pediatricians says that even if you watch screen for 20 minutes, आप बोलेंगे मेरा बच्चा सिर्फ 20 मिनट देखता है, but if those 20 minutes the child is watching negative content, then that 20 minutes of screen time is harmful for your child, compared to, say your child is watching 2 hours of screen time, but it is all interactive. Then that screen time is not harmful for your children. So the moral of the story, watch the content and the kind of screen time that your child is being exposed.
Very well
Thank you
said.
so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We have Amna. Amna, are you there? I think you have some questions to ask.
Yes, I'm here and I've been listening very.
Any questions you have from your end to ask any of our panelists?
Yeah, I did have a question. It's about, kids, they don't sit in front of the laptop mostly if there is a online thing going on, right? The thing is, how do we, okay, this is a really different question, but at school, they mostly have a syllabus to follow, or there's a timetable, or they know what to start when. Like from numbers, when to start, how to start addition or subtraction first. Now at home, we as parents don't know exactly what to start with the child. Do we start alphabets, or is it phonics, or because every school has a different way, or colors, or anything? We might be able to teach them the way we know it, and that may be the adult way. So how do we know what to start and when to start?
So this is where the Early Childhood Association, if you go on our website, it's eca-india.org. We have helped schools understand that this remote learning that you are planning should be in 3 parts. Part
Okay.
1 should be the teacher-child interaction, which happens on a video chat, which should not be more than 60 minutes. Part 2 is called the parent-child interaction, for which the school should send videos or activities to the parent. So the school knows what has to be done now for this age group in numbers, in colors, in shapes, in letters. So the school sends those activities to the parent, and the parent does it with the child. And the third is child independent activities, which means some activities should be given by the school, which the child can do on its own without parental guidance, so that it develops autonomy in the child. Please understand, children of this age group require independence. They want to be left alone sometimes, and they want to do things on their own. So if the online learning which is coming from the school is divided into these 3 parts, we have developed a manual called blended learning. It is there on our website. You can download it. Schools can download it. If you follow the guidelines in that, then parents don't have to choose what should I teach my child today. The guidance comes from the school. The material comes from the school. And it's okay if you can't have worksheets right now, because sending printed material and all is become difficult because of the lockdown. But you can always download that worksheet on a screen. It may be a simple matching worksheet, or it may be find the odd one out. Those are activities you can do through the screen also with your child. So it has to be interactive. Parents should not choose what to teach and when to teach. Teachers should guide them, so that guided developmental learning is happening. So it's very, very important. I urge everybody to please divide your remote learning into these 3 aspects.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the school will be providing it.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Amna. Well, ma'am, like recently Karnataka government has banned the online classes for students up to grade 7.
Even Maharashtra.
Yes, even Maharashtra. Is it not depriving the education of the child, which is the most important phase in their life?
Absolutely. And that's why as I joined this webinar late, and I've been going
Yes, yes,
off in the
understand.
middle, because the letters are being sent out to the government as ECA. And we're trying to appeal to the government to understand that children's 6 months are going to go sitting at home without any required brain stimulation. So which means you've actually taken away 6 months of the child's learning life out of the first 5 years. So which means you've left those children with just 4.5 years, where actually they required those 5 years for brain development. So it is something that the governments will have to understand. I know the governments are doing this because of parental pressure, because many schools made mistakes, and I don't blame the parents again for this. Many schools made the preschoolers sit in front of a screen for 3 hours, 4 hours, and they started actually converting their preschool into a virtual preschool. It cannot work like that. Now we are paying the price for the mistakes of all these COVID idiots, I call them, because they did not listen to education, they did not listen to research. And government actually, I would urge the governments to please listen to experts, to please listen to the reasoning in research before they take these blanket decisions. See, banning is a very bad thing to do right now. You can't ban anything. You should be giving guidelines. You should be saying this much is good and this you should not do. So now you have your parents who will ensure that your guidelines are being followed. But banning something, I am a little disappointed that governments are not listening to the voice of reason and are taking such drastic steps, which 10 years from now, we are going to regret, because children may be right now 20% of our population, but they are 100% our future. and we are taking away the foundation from our future.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, definitely. I think the government should definitely listen to us and do the needful for the parents, right? Now, when it comes to the daycare, already you answered, but again, just wanted to ask you again and again. So, what are the precautionary measures the schools and parents take when they come back to
So
the daycare?
ECA has released guidelines for safe opening after post-COVID. It's a lovely 54-page document, which helps parents understand what to expect from the school. It helps teachers understand what the school and parents will expect from them. It helps schools understand what are the safety guidelines. I would urge all schools, all parents to download those guidelines from our website, eca-india.org. In fact, these guidelines have been accepted by Brazil. Brazil has translated these guidelines and given it to all their preschools. So it is a huge affirmation for us that the government of Brazil has accepted these. What we would also like to say is that schools will have to be very cautious, including daycares, when they are opening up. They must ensure that their staff comes in at least 10 days before the children, so they get trained into this new normal. The new normal of not touching, the new normal of wearing a mask, the new normal of sanitizing things, the new normal of understanding that now we can't put our heads together and talk to each other. We have to learn to maintain social distancing or physical distancing. Teachers will first have to imbibe this, because when they become confident with it, and then when the children come in, it will be easier, it will be less stressful. Parents will have to ensure that in the daycare, they are sending bed sheets, pillow covers from home. Food, if not cooked in the premise, they have to be very careful about where they are bringing that food from. Ideally, it would be better than if the parents supply the food. But if it is being cooked in the premises, then the cook who is cooking the food and the person who's serving the food again need to be trained in the protocol. The beds, when you are putting their cots, they have to have physical distancing. Children will have to be taught about the importance of when to wear a mask, when not to wear a mask. Children will have to know the importance of washing their hands, the importance of sneezing and coughing, not in their hands, but in the fold of their elbow if they don't have a tissue or a handkerchief. So a lot of training has to be undergone first, both with parents, with teachers. Then schools have to send some things to the parent at home so the parent can educate the child. All this is given in our guidelines. We've created posters, very interesting posters which the parent can sit. We've written 2 storybooks. I urge the parents to also get the 2 storybooks. It's called The New Lion and the Mouse, where the mouse teaches the lion about Corona. And we have Goldilocks and the COVID Smart Bears. So these 2 stories are teaching the children about the 3 most important things that they now have to learn about living in the post-COVID world.
Okay. Thank you so much for the insight given for the daycare, ma'am. Well, time just flew away, right? It's almost an hour and above that we started this session. And I'm sure that all the questions which were lingering in our minds are cleared. My sincere thanks to Swati ma'am, Sonal ma'am, for clarifying all the doubts of the parents and for all the viewers. Right? It was a really a wonderful session. Thank you,
And
Priyanka.
thanks to you for being such a lovely moderator. Really. Your
Thank you so
calm,
much.
your calm way of asking the questions is really motivating.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving this platform that we could reach out to so many parents and teachers. Thank you, Radhika.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Because see, parents are definitely the parents, those who don't know many things about the preschoolers or a preschool, what we do it. So it's reaching out to entire
Yes.
world as it is a
Absolutely.
live through Facebook, right? I thank you, Priyanka, Suzanne, Amana, who has joined us from India, Nepal, and Uganda. So thank you once again to both the eminent speakers. Thank you. Stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.